What are you drinking tonight? Let's keep them flowing. Where do you come from? Where are you going? What are you feeling tonight? And what are you showing? Where do you come from? 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 Where are you going? What are you drinking tonight? Let's keep them flowing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the last episode of the Super PlayStation Bros. We have a special guest today with us, the infamous, the epic, the Cowboy.
What's going on, guys? Let's go!
Oh, man.
Welcome, Cowboy. Welcome. It's lovely to have you.
Guys, I've been clamoring for the chance to be on this show, and because I got the day off, I'm here with the epic PlayStation Bros. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
That's what we like to hear.
Thanks for coming on. And everybody in chat, thanks for coming, hanging out. This is the last episode of the year. Oh my gosh, it's been an epic year, and thanks for coming along for the ride. We do appreciate it. We are joined, as always, by Doragon, leveling up the podcast, as always. What's going on, Doragon? We are suited up to talk PlayStation. Look at us, sharp as ever.
Cowboy sort of outdone us here. He's gone full suited, but look how sharp he looks. Look at the sharpness of this man. He looks absolutely fantastic. Meanwhile, I just threw on a jacket over my PlayStation Christmas jumper.
Let's go.
Over the t-shirt. I'm even wearing sweatpants. I'm not even. I don't even have the bottom part. I just went top part.
My wife told me. She said, "Just wear your." She said, "You don't have to." She said, "Just wear your flip flops." I said, "Come on, you know I gotta go all out." You know?
Oh, he went with the shoes.
Come on, man.
Oh, damn.
They're not polished, my shoes. They're very slipper-esque.
Well, thanks everybody for coming, hanging out. Since this is the last episode, giving a little thank you. So just say what up in chat once we see your name. I'll enter you in the wheel, and then we'll have a little draw at the end. Now, get to some housekeeping things we have going on. This is on Cloud&Console. You can do 3 things to help the show. 1, hit that like button, promote that algorithm. 2, hit that subscribe button, join the channel, and get more episodes as they come out. And 3, hit the subscribe link on the hosts at the bottom. That's right, we got an Insta link to Rudig, Storagon, and the Cowboy, all in the link in the description below. So check us out, all that good stuff. Super PlayStation Bros, back early 2024. Let's get into the last episode. What have you guys been playing? I want to start with the Cowboy. What's been going on this week with you? What's in the PlayStation world? What do you game on? Let us know.
So I've been gaming Final Fantasy VII Remake. So my second favorite RPG of all time is Final Fantasy VII Original, many years ago. And so forever, it came out, in 2020? So it's been almost 4 years that I haven't played it. So I'm finally free from, there's no game I'm playing, I'm trying to beat right now. So I figure it's time to start it. So I looked and it says I'm 50% through it. I will say this, it's bothering me because the original was turn-based. I personally want my RPGs to be turn-based. And so I don't like that it's not turn-based. I'm trying to get into it, but it's bothering me. And years later, I love the graphics. I love the dialogue. They, speak and everything. But I feel, guys, don't kill me, but I'm trying to get into it. And I took a break to play the God of War DLC. And I played and beat it the other day. And I love it. So I went back to Final Fantasy yesterday. And I'm like, it's a little kiddie-ish, man. It's like I'm I'm with Aries, and she's like, oh, and I'm just like, man, I was just ripping things apart with Kratos, sparing no love, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm not really feeling Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I'm playing that. I'm playing the God of War. Like I said, I beat phenomenal. But it's a little controversial for me because I feel like I can say this, right? I feel like there is no story to it for me. Some people was like, no, that's not right, Cowboy. I'm like, but whatever. That's my opinion.
I was gonna say, did you like tank a couple of glasses of whiskey whilst you were playing it to miss the story?
I mean, listen,
I
know
think
you haven't played it yet, so I'm not even gonna.
I think what it does is it fills the definition of an epilogue. And I think that's all that it's set out to do with its story elements. No, it's not a full-fledged, encapsulated tale, but it is an epilogue, and I believe that's what it's trying to do.
Yep.
And when you compare God of War's visceral combat to any other game, you can't. You can't. I mean, you put a spear in something, you rip it apart. You're like, oh, next. Like, no other game does that.
Yeah, for me, combat, and I like melee combat more than gun combat. And so for me, the pinnacle of gameplay is God of War Ragnarok. Like the feeling, like you know when you play a first-person shooter and they call it like a bullet sponge. You're just shooting something and they're just taking bullets. God of War, and so some melee-based games, the same thing. You're just swinging and hitting, but you feel like every hit with Kratos when he swing and slash, and yeah, it's great. So those two things I'm currently playing. And it's funny because I beat the God of War DLC, and I was complaining about, story, blah blah blah, and then the very next day, the first thing I do is I play it again, even though I beat it, I still play it again.
Yeah.
But those are the two current things I'm playing. And I just played Call of Duty, and I rented it, and I had it, and I played like every mode, and then I put it down, and I didn't play it for a whole week, and I was like, oh, I forgot I still got this game, and I played it and sent it right back. Yeah, it's not. It feels like last year's game. No offense to any Call of Duty fans, but unless you're really into Call of Duty, I feel like this year's Call of Duty is just Call of Duty. They didn't, they got the zombie mode, but that's probably it that they added.
It's an $80 update.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
probably the best way to describe it. Yeah.
What have you been up to this week? What's been going on in gaming?
So I've also been in the God of War Ragnarok Valhalla DLC. I've been absolutely loving that. I have ripped my throat apart on a couple of occasions, screaming with joy at the harkbacks to the Greek trilogy. The fact that the Greek music is in there is chef's kiss beautiful. The soundtrack now being on all of your streaming platforms is also great. I get through so much work with that soundtrack on. It's superb. Absolutely love it. Bear McCreary did yet another fantastic job with the music for that DLC. But then a bunch of people in chat watched me trying to run a TV station very badly. In VR. I was lucky enough to get a key code for a new game on PlayStation called Not for Broadcast VR. It's essentially a British-based game. I don't know whether it's made in Britain, but you're running the news. So you're doing all of the switching between the different scenes. You're messing with the frequencies to keep the signal stable and all this sort of stuff. You're also bleeping out live swears and all this kind of thing. It's really intense, and because you're in VR, it totally takes over what you're doing, and you're sort of reaching across a table to hit all of these different buttons, make sure everything's working. Meanwhile, you guys were just in my chat berating my ability. I thought I was doing quite well until I came out of that headset, looked at chat, and saw all the beration from all of you guys. I was disheartened and crying, but it's such a fun game. If you do get a chance, if you do have the PSVR 2 and you just want a silly, fun but challenging game, I would highly recommend Not for Broadcast VR. Really, really cool title. I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did on that stream, and especially with everybody who turned up. But that's pretty much been the sum of it. Obviously, there's been a bit of Beat Saber in there for my fitness, a little bit of Synapse, because why wouldn't you play Synapse? I've tried a couple of Trials as well, because as we're going to come into a little bit later, there's a sale on the PlayStation Store right now, and I want to know if they're worth buying. But otherwise, those are the two sort of main titles that have taken up most of my playtime. So what about yourself, my friend? You've asked both of us. You need to tell us what you've been gaming on.
Oh, the DualSense Edge. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm need to put up a review after the fact because this controller has been the best hardware selection of the year for me. I love the Pro controller. I love the weight of it. I love the toggles on the back. The way they've done them is genius. I feel it's completely ergonomic friendly because when I go back to the Xbox Elite and I have to press those flat buttons, it's uncomfortable, it's crampy. I don't know. DualSense Edge hit it out of the park. The battery life may be short, but the thing recharged, tested it yesterday, 1 hour it took to recharge. The thing hits fast, so a year after the date and still lasts a good 8 hours. So kudos to the DualSense Edge. I will champion that thing until the end of time. Oh, such a good one. But the software, Final Fantasy 16, amazing. I had the Bahamut fight, just blew me away. Cowboy, I'm not sure if you've jumped into the Bahamut fight in Final Fantasy 16, but just music, epic dragon battles of massive kaiju proportions. The music was some of the most amazing cinematic violins on a translucent stage of fireballs and clawing. I just absolutely was blown away. 10 out of 10 boss fight for me. Just one I would agree on that remember. One. That one I will always remember.
Yeah, I did play and beat Final Fantasy some months ago, and that's my love-hate relationship of 2023. Yeah.
Oh my.
Got a lot of
love-hate.
A lot of bad things to say about the game, and a lot of good things. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I will say it has high highs like I've never seen in games before of epic proportion, and then you want me to go freaking pick up sand at the beach or pick up your letter because you dropped it? Come on, busy work. Torgal, go do that.
My thing is I don't mind side quests, right? Side quests are meant to be silly and do stuff, but they have some main quests, which I don't know how far you are, I won't say it, but they have some main quests that you have to do that should definitely be a side quest. I'm like, it just slowed the game down. It feels drawn, and I think the issue with that game is it's made to be a hack and slash melee game, but it plays like a RPG. So RPG is supposed to be long and drawn out, right? So RPG, you do this, but when you do action, it's a weird. You almost feel like you wouldn't want a regular hack and slash game to be this long and this drawn out. You would want to get to it. Like even the building up to these most epic, like on my list of most epic over the top games, it got to be like in my top 3. Like you're like, what is happening? But to get up to it, it's a slow, like it sometimes you're just like, it's a weird feeling with that game. So that's not my real big issue though.
But I love the high highs. They keep me coming back and I just want more of it. And I'm intrigued in the story, emotional, heartstrings, well done, the writing. I will give it props to that, except everyone has a different English accent, which kind of confuses me talking to people. I feel like people of the same region should have the same English accent.
I hate to tell you this, but I can go 3 minutes down the road and hit a different accent. That's England.
Insane.
We have got 6,000 different accents. I kid you not.
I guess that's how it is.
It is the most authentic game with any British accent that has come out for a long, long time.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay. My hat's off then.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, can I just say my issue real quick?
Yeah.
Go for it, yes.
Here's my issue. They dolled this thing up with the PlayStation's 5 hardware. Oh, this game is gonna be, it's amazing. It's gonna blow your socks off because it's only utilizing the PlayStation 5 hardware. I was like, whoa, dare I say, PlayStation 3 wants its graphics back. There's sometimes it looks great, and then there's sometimes you're like, dude, the characters are so dull. Like certain characters in the game, like you're walking around, and I'm like, like it's super bland looking. I get the whole what happened in the world, but like where's the color? So when I started playing Final Fantasy 7, I was like, dude, this game looked instantly better than this game is how many years old and looks better than that game. I feel like and maybe they wanted it to look like, I don't know, man. Some of the characters like no detail in the face. I'm like, it's so up and down. It's like 25% of the game will blow your socks off. Those boss battles, the detail and the big creatures, but then the rest of the game and the buildings and the background and the characters, you're like, it doesn't look good. Like PlayStation 3 want their characters back. And it bothers me that it was such a big, oh, it's gonna, because it's only on the PlayStation 5 when it comes out. And I was like, oh man. And so when I got it, I was like, let me check my settings. Maybe it's me. Maybe this Sony Endzone M9 is messing up. I don't know. But yeah, that bothers me, man.
I will agree
see where
that
you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
Like,
I look over at some characters. Yeah, go Dorgon.
I addressed it directly in my review. I actually addressed Cowboy's point because we'd spoken about it off camera, and it's very much a case about 25% of the time, I would say, you notice drastic swings in graphical quality. Like it was swinging down to 1080p whilst at 60. Now, don't get me wrong, it never dropped frames, which is what I would much prefer. But when it's literally jumping from 4K to 1080p and you can see it happening on screen, there are some technical issues with the game at that precise moment in time, I would say. So yeah, I did notice it. I understand exactly where Cowboy's coming from. Makes perfect sense. It didn't diminish the experience for me. What did was those mission designs that you mentioned, where you're suddenly just walking around talking to 6 people after you've just fought a mountain. I literally fought against a mountain with snakes coming out of his back, and then, oh, here, can you go talk to this guy? They might know what's going on. Oh, I haven't got a clue. Go talk to this person. They know what's going on. And that repeats like 8 or 9 times. It's a touch. Like the ebbs and the flows are so far in either direction that it's really jarring on occasion.
See, this is why we need Dorgon. He can explain what everybody's probably mad at when I explain it. And Dorgon he's like, no, this is what he's saying. All right, cool. But
I agree.
Because some of the character designs are pretty bad. No, you didn't touch on that.
Jill's like face is very plain. Jill never has very much emotion. Sometimes you look at her, it's kind of blurry. But I will say, whenever they do a cinematic cutscene, it looks great. Real-time graphics as well. So everything's generated in-game. And I mean, the thing looks fantastic. I mean, Clive's face, but when they go out of that aspect, it's like they're just focused on holding your frames, like Dorgon's saying, instead of holding the graphic fidelity. And I guess that's just some cuts they had to make. Unfortunately, we can't get it all.
Yeah, I'm with Wibble on this one. I am waiting for it to come to PC. People like SPG and Wibble with their 4090s and their overclocked CPUs, GPUs, and everything else. These guys are going to get that game looking fan-effing-tastic. I can't wait to see that.
But it's not going to fix those PlayStation 3 character models. Like that one lady, I wish I knew her name. This one lady.
That will be solved by the community with something known as mods that we cannot get on PlayStation.
There you go. Well.
Other than that,
anyhow, we spent enough time on FF16. Let's move
on. Valhalla, I played some of this week. I believe so. Managed to wrap up the story there. There was a lot of hints into what's going to happen, so I will leave it at that. Otherwise, I will say it fits the definition of an epilogue. It doesn't tell a full encapsulated story. It's meant to continue. Yeah, there was tons of... Okay, Helos. He is a very talkative character who comes out of the fray to enter stuff. You have I don't want to get into too much because
leave it alone. Leave it alone. Dorgon's like,
moving on.
I know he's talked to Helos, so I know he's talked to Helios. That's it.
I've spoken to Helios. I've burned Helios. I've burned myself, etc., etc. Yeah, I've done a lot of the game. I'm just not towards the end of it. And there's a lot of people in chat who've not even started it. Again, I know Wibblesniff hasn't. I don't think Miss Phoenix has picked up Ragnarok Valhalla yet. It's one of those, I don't want to give stuff away, and there's a lot in this that even for a long-term fan like myself, who's been playing it since 2005 when it started, there are new things that I had forgotten or wasn't fully aware of, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's not worth spoiling for folks.
You know what I will say was cool? It's longer than I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought, like, okay, it should be over. And I'm like, oh, it's still not over. And then I thought it should be over. It's still not over. It's a good, and for free. It's a good.
It was longer than this year's Call of Duty campaign. Oh!
Burn.
Hey, he said it, not me.
The irony of that being the case, like all of the Call of Duty developers being up in arms about Chris Judge making that joke at the Game Awards, and then an announcement from the Game Awards also being longer than their campaign, and it's free.
Yeah.
I love that irony.
I honestly don't know how they produce a campaign that's 4 hours and say we're done, but that's what they do. That's what it is.
You know what though? To be fair for Call of Duty, I think a lot of the player base love their multiplayer mode.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people get the game and burn straight through the campaign, or they put the campaign to the side. Because remember, Call of Duty, and people don't talk about this anymore, but Call of Duty was the game to really make prestige in a thing, right? You want to you play and level up, and then you start over and you do it again and level up. And some people will have like 14 prestige, 53 prestige, and you're like, oh, that meant you played so much that you leveled through all the levels and again. So all of that has nothing to do with the story mode. So you got to think, majority of the players don't spend that much time on the story mode. Maybe they felt, oh, you know what, we're going to give you a good, because people are trying to get through this. Like I remember when I used to be in a Call of Duty, I'm like, I want to play the story, but I want to get to this. So you're just really playing it to hurry up and get through it. So you can say you played the story mode. So you can now get to the meat and potatoes. So in fairness, maybe it is like a funny shot to them. Like, oh, it's only 4 hours, 3 hours, whatever. But I think in fairness, who really plays Call? I mean, maybe there are a percentage, but for the majority, who's playing Call of Duty for the story? Like, let's be real.
Yeah, they know the percentage is less than one who only goes campaign, and so they're catering to the millions of other who just want, multiplayer updates.
It's why there's such a vast difference in that reception as well. Critics received it so poorly because the only thing that they had for review was the campaign. But then fans who only want the multiplayer have access to that the moment they download or update or buy or whatever the case may be. And they're loving that. If you like Call of Duty Online previously, you're going to like this one. Makes perfect sense.
Well, Wibble makes a point. He's not even gotten Ragnarok, and I believe that's your fault, Doragon, but that's going to be a transition.
No, it's massively his fault. He's got my copy.
Oh, okay. Well, based on terms of service, which is my nice way of segmenting.
Oh, what a segue! Oh, that was a beautiful segue, if I do say so, sir.
I hear you're not allowed to resale your games anymore, and it's a big announcement. Cowboy, I want to thank you for shedding some light on what was going to be some heated debates.
Right.
If anyone has heard the terms of service have newly changed, that is not the case. It has been the policy since 2013.
Correct.
And we have that here. So I assume what they're doing is they're simply not enforcing this because this would have been the end of GameStop 10 years ago.
It would have been the end of PlayStation 10 years ago. This was at a time when DRM and you had online keys, so they shipped keys inside boxes if you wanted to play online. So if you bought secondhand, you had to pay $10 to get a new key to be able to play the online modes and stuff like that. Basically, Xbox and PlayStation and third-party publishers were trying to eradicate. They said piracy, but they were trying to eradicate resale. They were trying to make everybody buy direct from them, buy at full price so that they could make more money. And Xbox then came out at E3 in 2013 and announced a VCR. They didn't announce a games console. They announced a VCR that had to have Kinect ship with it, which made it $100 more expensive. It was based around television. I think they mentioned one thing about gaming in the entire keynote, and then all of the DRM information came out about how you could and couldn't use this. So they said then, resale of games, not possible, can't do this, can't do that. All of the same things that are in the Sony terms of service here that have been brought back to light this past week, they were part of the Xbox One launch. Sony realized how catastrophic and stupid an idea it was, so before they went to their keynote, which was 2 hours later, scrubbed all of that. It's still in the terms and conditions, so if they wanted to enforce it, they could. But over the course of the last 10 years, they haven't. It's just one of those that they could use it if needs be against a bad actor, a bad player, a big name bad player in the community, that sort of thing. But for your average Joe, the likes of you, the likes of I, the likes of Cowboy, it is very much a case of, yes, sell your games. That's totally fine. Shuhei Yoshida has said that multiple times. Yes, lend your games to your friends. That's been said multiple times, and they really hammered that one home with a video of Shuhei Yoshida handing over a copy of a game of "This is how you share games on PlayStation." Hey! And broadcasting, they wouldn't build in broadcast software if they didn't want you broadcasting these games to Twitch, to YouTube, to Kick, and so on, because it's free advertisement for them. They are there to be policed and enforced if it were required for more nefarious purposes. But these terms of service, the one thing that's actually updated is falling in line with a couple of EU digital provisos and new regulations, which don't really affect us so much as a customer. It's more affecting Sony and PlayStation. But people have just gone through and they've noticed things that they've not noticed before and kicked up a bit of a fuss, understandably, because the wording of it is incredibly, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other. But it's not actually the case of the world because it's unpoliceable.
Right. It reminds me, and a lot of people in chat will remember this, it reminds me of a time some years ago where some people out of nowhere put in the Google terms and services for Stadia, and people went crazy. I mean, there was people who used to be named blah, 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 Stadia channel, Stadia, blah, blah, blah. I won't say any names. And so people went crazy changing the names of their channels because it said, oh, you can't use that Stadia S. You got to have it straight. It can't be crooked. But these are things, as Durgan said, that companies put out there. So if you was to use, let's say your name is called the PlayStation Bros. If you was on here talking about stuff you shouldn't be, then they could jump in, right? But you would, again, have to be a bigger channel, but at the end of the day, but it reminds me of that where people went crazy and come to find out this was Google terms of services from the beginning. Like it wasn't people put it out there to say, look what just happened. Come to find out this was already a thing and nobody should worry about it because it's only if the event you should do something in their name, right? So, the PlayStation Bros are going to Kansas to slap some people around. I'm just trying to make it without getting it crazy, but and sometimes I felt Durgan was going to come over here and slap me around. And I met Rubix in person and he choked me.
He didn't choke you, he hugged you. You're just like a meter smaller than him.
Okay, fine. I thought that was a joke. Oh, it's a hug. Okay.
No, that's a Rudik's hug. For the rest of us, it's more around the chest area. It's just, unfortunately, there was a bit of a height issue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, I get it. Yeah, when he went in, he was like...
Yeah, he just went straight around. He's a bit clumsy. He's Canadian. He's definitely sorry.
It's
maybe with a couple of W's rather than R's.
Yeah. He is pretty tall, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I should have had some forward thinking here because not only is the name of this show not great for PlayStation, but Nintendo can also take its shots as well. So,
and they're the ones who actually do, yeah.
Right.
Not to mention, we've combined both of them into a Nintendo PlayStation baby for a name. So that's great.
They had a falling out when that was a thing. Like the first PlayStation was meant to be between Sony and Nintendo, and they sort of went.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could be in a lot of trouble here, bro.
But we'll cross that bridge once we get there. Well, this clears the story here. If you're worried about resale, or if you're worried about the alarm, or if you've seen the tweets and threads, just realize you're still able to do all this. They're trying to put up their barriers in case they need to enforce against larger actors. And I will point out, anyone wants a gamer tag? Nefarious? Oh my god, that's a great gamer tag. Looking at you, Wilson Blaze V Pimps. All right.
You know, can I say the craziest gamer tag I've ever seen? This was back when PlayStation, was it PlayStation 1 or 2 with the first Resistance Fall of Man?
PlayStation 3.
Was it third? Okay, all
Ooh,
right. So
PlayStation
PlayStation
3.
3. And I
One of the
remember,
launch titles, yeah.
okay, we used to, yeah, that's right. PlayStation 3, yeah. I know that because my ex-wife, we was only dating for like a few months, and she bought me the PlayStation 3 as a Christmas gift with Resistance and 2 controllers. She spent
Ooh,
money. And
wow.
Whoa!
yeah, that was the wildest gift I've ever got for somebody. And I literally was only dating her for maybe 3 months. It was crazy. But so I should
Cowboy
remember. But
showing the love.
yeah, that was wow. And I
You
put end
must
up putting
have
a ring on it. You
been
know,
at top performance to get that kind of Christmas gift after
listen,
3 months.
I end up putting a ring on it, but literally was married for less than 2 years. Anyway, but back to that. So I remember meeting some guy online, and his name was Rectum Destroyer.
No.
And I'll never forget it. And he was pretty good too. So he used to just wreck people. But yeah, that was great.
Well,
And then
Wilson,
in
take that
Anthem,
name.
real quick, in Anthem, I created my clan and I named us the Rectum Destroyers.
Oh my gosh.
Years later.
Was it?
All right.
I
Oh,
hope
brilliant.
it was wreck them destroyers, and then people just had to fill in the blanks.
I forgot how it was spelled, but it was Rectum Destroyers. Like it wasn't them. It wasn't wreck them. It was Rectum Destroyers.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're popping in. Speaking of rectum destroyers, The Last of Us Online has been canceled, unfortunately.
That was not as smooth as the first segue, I've got to say.
But
Well-
it did make sense though. It did make sense.
I mean, for myself, I feel as if this is a good thing. The people at Naughty Dog don't need to take their amazing IP and make their first live service game out of their amazing IP. I think sticking in the realm of single player action, great story, that's where Naughty Dog hits. That's where I'd like to see them producing more content. So I don't know. It would be nice to get a Factions. It would be nice to have live service for PlayStation, but at the same time, you can't hate them for doing what they do best. I'll open it up to you guys for your thoughts.
I'm good with it. I'm very good with it. I liked Factions. I didn't think Factions was amazing. I didn't like it as much as the Uncharted online experience. Uncharted brought much more varied options to the table, including co-op in both story modes and arena modes. I had much more fun with that version of Naughty Dog online services. I don't see the need for live this title. If they just done a good Factions, that would be absolutely fine. But what they're looking at, like a full live service title, like the whole 100 people studio, just aiming for the next 10 years, and that is not what this industry right now.
I think we're getting some robot voice from you, Dorgon. Are you there?
Yeah, the internet thing halfway the day.
Cowboy.
On to Cowboy.
Cowboy, what are your thoughts on canceling Factions? Were you looking forward to Factions? Are you upset to see this happen, or are you fine to see Naughty Dog just, scrap it and move on?
So what's funny? What a lot of people gamers don't know, because that was such a while ago. Before I got into Destiny, the only game I was playing was Factions Part 1. I was such a big fan of that, and I would play it over and over. They had this whole thing where it was like a built-in story where you had to go so many weeks and get so many resources, and by the end of the sessions, you had to see whose camp stole the most resources. And I was a big fan of it. It was a pretty basic game. It wasn't groundbreaking, but I loved how violent the animation was. And it was even a little more violent than playing the actual game. Like it had some really crazy kills. But so when I got into Destiny, I totally got soaked in Destiny, so I stopped playing that. So years later, when Part 2 was going to come out, And originally Factions 2 was just going to be a multiplayer mode in part 2. So I was like, oh, cool. And then they decided, let's go bigger and better and make it live service. So I was like, okay, well, live service can be good depending on who does it and how much they put into it. My thing is this. I love that they gave an explanation. For me, the explanation, as you touched on, they said if we went with Factions 2, we would have had to turn into a live service company in order to fuel that beast. And so we feel that what we bring to the table as one player games, single player games, is that's our bread and butter, as Duragon said. So for me, I rather them do the things that made me fall in love with The Last of Us and Nathan Drake and all of that stuff. So you keep doing what you're great at. And I think over the years, I've always said I'm more of a multiplayer guy. But honestly, after I got out of Destiny and then out of Anthem and out of Avengers, I kind of feel like, man, I always go back to those single player games. And I kind of want companies just give us a multiplayer game, right? A multiplayer mode. So, and which that's what they did with Factions. That's what they did, like Duragon said, with Uncharted. So at the end of the day, I think, again, their answer or their rebuttal, we ought to bring it back a little bit. I think they was full steams ahead until Bungie told them that they don't think this would be a sustainable live service game. And remember, that's when they decided not to show it at the showcase. So I wonder, would they have released it if Bungie was never on board with PlayStation, was able to give them that advice. But besides that, I think yes, them deciding to keep doing what they do well and not do something that they really haven't done and make that takeover, I'm fine with it. I'm fine if the world never gets to see a Factions 2. So
yeah, am I still Dalek-y or am I back to normal?
Back to normal.
Back to normal.
Back to normal.
Thanks for
so just to build off the end of that, completely agree. They are better at the single player experience. They're better when they just add a multiplayer mode into a single player game. And I'm glad to see more of that coming down the line. I want to see new IPs from these companies. They're great at creating new IPs. I want to see new experiences in old IPs and the conclusions of stories and such. So, yeah, I'm good with this decision. I think it was a hard decision for the studio to make, considering the amount of time that they put into it and the effort. But at the same time, they can take the learnings or even a lot of the structure and model and put that in as a multiplayer mode in something that they do next with one of these single player experiences.
Well, it's I want more games, so it's sad to see any game lost. I think what they may have done is they took whatever they made in Factions and they put it into The Last of Us Part 2 Remake Rogue mode. Maybe that's what happened there. It could be a possibility. But that would be my best guess, recycle what you made, but move forward. And it's interesting that Bungie was the one to say, nope, you're doing it wrong. And then Bungie has catastrophic failure.
That's crazy.
Freaking months later. Like, I don't know if they should have taken that advice.
It takes experience to know when something's wrong. They did wrong with the launch of Destiny 1. They did wrong with the launch of Destiny 2. They did wrong with I want to say Beyond Light and then Lightfall. Like, they know how to get it wrong, and they have failed in a live service environment. They are lucky that the Destiny IP is so strong and will carry it through to the next point that they can release something and say, hey, we're back, we're good again, sorry about the dip. But most other people do not have that joy of being one of the first into this live service bubble, which is obviously popped with a lot of people. We don't want a chore of a video game. We want a game that we can go and enjoy. And that keeps calling us back, that you have that itch that you want to go and play, and not just, oh, I've got a tick box exercise to do this week or today. You've like, got to do all my dailies, got to do all my weeklies, got to do this, got to do that. Not many gamers actually want or care for that. So you need to do something that they're going to want to move on to next. That's probably the best course of action, because they'll buy it at full price if it's something they're really excited to play.
Speaking of buy at full price for being excited to play, there was an Insomniac leak before the leak, and which Doragon had sent me a thread, and it had said, there is mention of a Spider-Verse project in the making. later on, we discovered a whole list of upcoming projects. It doesn't look like there's going to be a Spider-Verse game on release, or perhaps there'll be Spider-Verse elements within one of the games they're releasing, but nothing specific to the Spider-Verse. Now, what I will say on the Wolverine leak, and we can say have our each piece here because that happened this week. Unfortunate to Insomniac. I'm gonna put on my tinfoil hat because I think they did it on purpose. There's no way Sony is getting hacked left, right, and center. Put up a damn firewall. Stop these people from getting in. I think this was a marketing strategy. Under some think tank in a marketing group sat down and they were like, let's do something different. We're not going to buy a bunch of things. We're going to leak it. And that's going to be the best way to get out there to as many people as possible. And I think that's what happened. They didn't put together a trailer. They put together this thing, and that's what they released. But yeah, I'll open it up to you guys. I think you've been
smoking something stronger than normal, mate. Like that is, like you say, tinfoil hat territory. I could understand that if they were leaking just the release dates of what's coming up for the next 10 years, what their roadmap plan is for their games out of that studio, which, by the way, is better than the rest of the industry combined. Like, Insomniac are literally propping up the video game industry at the moment. They are insane at what they are turning out at a good rate and without crunch of the developers. They just need to pay their actors better. If they were just doing that, if it was just the leaks of Wolverine saying, oh, this is what Wolverine's going to look like, this is when it's coming, this is how much it's going to cost, how long it's going to be, the cinematic and all that sort of stuff, I could understand that being a marketing leak. But within it, you've got emails from the likes of Jim Ryan to all hands within PlayStation in full panic mode. Like, the language that is within these emails is him panicking about the Activision Blizzard acquisition and saying it could destroy PlayStation, this could be the end of PlayStation and stuff like that. That's not something you leak to the world. You don't put all of your employees' personal information in a marketing leak to the world. You don't put this fact that you've got basically nothing for 2023 and you're panicking about not having anything for 2023 other than Spider-Man in a leak to the world. But there's so much around this that is such bad press for Sony that if it was on purpose, whoever came up with this is going to be losing their job pretty sharpish. I do think this was outside actors, outside hackers who got through what appear to be very poor firewalls in Sony PlayStation studios at the moment, steal all the data, and because they didn't get the ransom of their 2 Bitcoin, which is something ridiculous and doesn't exist anyway, then leaked it everywhere as they said they would. I think it is face value, this one, unfortunately.
So I will say this though, Dorgon, to Rudig's point, if you wanted to make it believable, you would actually do what you just fell for, right? If it was an inside job. Because if it was just a regular hack and they didn't put out some people information and these conversations from behind the scenes, you'd have been like, this is probably BS. But because that got leaked, it makes people say, oh, this is real. But what if Rudig's is right and this really isn't real? Like, do we know?
There's a way to do leaks. There is a way to do that within the industry and have it feel like people have just gathered information. They feel special because they've got this information that they're breaking to the world. There's nothing official, so they don't have to pay marketing fees or anything, and it's just a piece of paper with a little hint on it that people will then create a load of YouTube content over. There is a way within the industry to do leaks. We do it within big tech. Like, I've been part of big leaks in the past. Like, it is a legitimate strategy, but there are ways to do it. There are means to do it. And the first rule is you don't jeopardize your people and you don't include anything internal or secretive, anything marked like C3, C4, that sort of level of confidential information. The size of the leak, 1.6 terabytes, is not a small leak, especially when it's in like miniature code files and images and videos. That's not a small leak for an upcoming game. I understand what you guys are saying. Yeah, it would make it more believable. You cover your tracks by making it seem worse and so on and so forth, but just not how it's going to happen. Like, if you're going to leak it, it's going to be a small thing that gets people talking before you then give them the next small tidbit 3 months later.
Hmm. Well, so I was just jumping in because that's Rudig's thing. But for me, on the leak, honestly, I don't want to sound how should I say this? I just feel like leaks have happened in the past. It's unfortunate. But it is a thing. This is the world we live in. You guys remember Capcom got hacked, and that's how we found out Google paid $10 million to get Resident Evil 7 and 8 on Stadia, right? PlayStation, we're talking
Rockstar
about
earlier this year. That's how we got our first images of GTA 6, long
GTA
before
6.
they put anything out.
Correct. Long before that. So I'm not making it lightly, but I'm just saying that unfortunately there are people in the world that's not gonna stop hacking. Like remember the kid from the GTA thing, but he was like 16 or he was a teenager,
Yeah,
right?
teenager
So
bedroom in a flat in London. Yeah.
yeah. So at the end of the day, it's unfortunate. I think what the best thing is what Duragon said: improve your firewall. Try to do again. These hackers are getting smarter and smarter. So these companies got to get smarter and smarter. But as far as the leaks itself, um, from what I've seen, it is what it is. It's a video game. You got to see pre-rendered stuff, what it may look like. I think maybe the coolest thing of the leak is finding out there's going to be X-Men games in the future. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that buzzworthy of a story. Some people are like, oh no, don't talk about it. I just feel like it's kind of like it's unfortunate for the people who their personal information got put out. It's unfortunate for Sony as far as the public perception. I always say Sony, the one thing they do smart is they make you think they're premium, right? Whereas not a console war thing, but whereas some people say like, oh, Xbox give out stuff for free, Sony make you feel like, well, you're paying full price because it's worth it. So it's unfortunate that the perception, like Dorgan just said, you're seeing them say like, oh, this might be it. So that's more damaging because Sony is always looked at as like they're the rock of gaming. They can't be harmed because they put out great content. But yeah, I mean, I think the leak is, it's unfortunate, but it is a leak. It's not going to stop. It's not going to be the last leak. Something else going to be leaked, and hopefully they do as Dorgan suggested. These companies get smarter. So.
Yeah, let's see it. And if they don't get smarter, I'm gonna heat strike them in Tekken 8. How good was that demo? Let's touch on it for a minute. I got into it. I played a couple rounds, went into the arcade mode. The arcade mode confused me. I did not realize that the avatar thing was a part of Tekken 8. I assume that's part of the culture. But the battle, it seemed accessible. I liked the block system. The heat striking was also very cinematic, cool, graphics on point. There was a lot of things I liked about it. I definitely will try it again. I'm happy to see that PlayStation got the demo a little bit earlier. It was that early first strike, as they say in the fighting games. But cool to see. What did you guys think of Tekken 8 if you got to try it?
Yeah.
Let me know.
So at first, I didn't rush to play the demo because fortunately, I've been a part of 3 of the betas. So I was a part of all the betas that came out. So I've already got to play the game a bunch of times. I think it's a really fresh take on Tekken. But the demo was cool because the demo added, like I actually went and was playing the demo again yesterday. But the demo, as you said, so the demo has a story mode. So you get to play the beginning of the story, which takes Tekken, like, I'll say this. Tekken is my second favorite fighting game of all time. My first favorite is Battle Arena Toshinden, if you guys know what that is. But unfortunately, they stopped making them after part 3, and then one on Sega Saturn. But anyway, so Ultimate Revenge Attack it was called. But anyway, so I've always loved the combat in Tekken. Like the hits feel so good, but I've always felt Mortal Kombat has had the better story. This year, Mortal Kombat story let me down. And when I played this demo and I got to play the beginning of the story, and my favorite character in Tekken is Kazuya. And so I'm like, whoa, this is like some Dragon Ball Z stuff. He's like super powerful, talking about he could destroy the world. So the story was great. That was good to show that. The gameplay feels like Tekken, but what they always do is make it fresh. They add the heat system and they add all this extra stuff on top of what you already knew and love. They're gonna have 32 characters. And then that mode you're talking about, the arcade mode, So I seen a video on it, so I kind of knew what to expect. So if I went into it blind, I'd have been thinking the same thing as you. But I think it's a neat part of it. It's kind of like it's a story. It's like a second story mode. It's about Tekken just came out in the arcade, and you guys and your friends are excited to play it. And so if you look at it like, oh, it's an extra story, and they make you go in tournament. Like I actually did all of it yesterday. I finished the rest of that mode. And so it actually just builds you up to meet a group of friends, and you guys want to enter the Tekken tournament. And you got this mean little kid. He looks like exactly like Kazuya, and he's supposed to be the top player. So that's cool. They actually got another mode that was in a beta that they didn't show, which is pretty much like Street Fighter mode. You're going to be able to run all around and just be with a big thing, bigger than what they showed. But anyway, I thought it was great. From what I played, man, it got me hyped. I wasn't hyped to play Tekken yet. I just know I've always get every Tekken day one. I buy the big pack, whatever else comes with it. I'm a Tekken fan. And Obi's in the chat. Obi and his friends, they're super into Tekken, so it's been cool reconnecting with him and meeting some other people that's really into Tekken, even more into Tekken than me, because all they want to do is the stupid juggles. But I like that the game explains that Juggles is part of Tekken. So it kind of shuts me up because the little kid in that little mode is like, Juggles is part of Tekken. You want to keep people in the air as long as you want. And I'm like, yeah, I know that they turn in every fighting game into Killer Instinct. Let's be honest. But yeah,
they have a vet character. Mountain Gaming. If you're seeing this, look at that. They got a Tinkerbell fighter just for you.
Yeah, actually that robot is my wife's favorite character.
The robot.
She's pretty beat. She can have chainsaws on her hands. So that's my wife's favorite type of character. Goodness. But yeah, so that's my point. I think Tekken's gonna come out. It's gonna do great. I hope for some fans that's super into the techie stuff, like Obi, I hope they have everything together. Like Mortal Kombat is getting dragged through the mud because they didn't have so many like frame data mode. They like the little behind the scenes stuff, not behind the scenes, but some people are super into that. They didn't have crossplay at first. They didn't have a lot of, the little stuff that the general casual fighting game people, it goes over their head and they don't even notice that's a thing. But some people like Rose, they want that thing day one or they're going to scream and complain, So I hope Tekken actually gives you all of that from day one. But from what I played, absolutely stunning. Graphics is great. It's the first fighting game to use the Unreal Engine 5. So that's a little bit of a thing out there. No other fighting game has used that yet. So yeah, it's looks great. Plays great.
Dorgon, any thoughts on Tekken 8?
I am nowhere near as good or as into fighting games as the Cowboy. And when he says he's not into it as much as people like Obi, I have no idea how much my thought process or information holds. I've always been a very narratively driven gamer. I enjoyed Tekken 3 because it came with my original PlayStation. Put so many hours into that, unlocking every single character. Actually got quite good against people. But granted, it was whoever you could find in the local village to sit at the second controller. I've enjoyed it through 5, 6, and 7. The story's been great. I've really liked the way that it's been going. I'm looking forward to 8. I enjoy the Tekken games. I'm not good at them. I'm not going to claim I'm anything other than interested in the story. But what I've seen and what I've had hands on with is like, yeah, this is great. Give me more. I'm happy.
Awesome. Well, let's get into our last segment of the show of the year. And that is the PlayStation Blogs Game of the Years. I want to remind everyone in chat, just say what up, and you are entered into the giveaway. A thank you for coming out. ISO Motion Gaming gets in the giveaway for saying what's up. Thanks for stopping on by, dude. And thanks for everyone for coming, hanging out on the last Super PlayStation Bros of 2023. It means the world to us. And thank you, Cowboy, for jumping on the panel. This has been an epic show. Let's get into the wrap up. And I wanna preference you guys so you can think about it. I'm gonna ask you your personal best gaming experience of the year. So have that loaded up to go. We are going to go through some of, not all of these, obviously, but most anticipated game of 2024 and beyond kind of surprised me. They did not give it to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I assume they would. they did the trophy system. So they did bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. So what do you think got the platinum for anticipation?
You see, if I was voting, because this was it was a personal vote, so it was the community who decided what goes where. But if I was voting, I would be putting Rise of the Ronin as my most anticipated. It's from Team Ninja. It's coming out in March, so it's here pretty soon. It looks absolutely fantastic from every trailer and bit of gameplay that we've seen. That would go as my personal most anticipated. I can't see what is in the bronze, silver, and gold slots on the screen because it's too small for me, unfortunately. So I would put it as Rise of the Ronin.
Well, that's a well. And what is your most anticipated game, Cowboy? I guess that's a good way to do this.
I don't have one. You know, we were talking about that the other day.
You're not looking forward.
I'm a big fan of the Transformers IP. I don't know if that's going to be in 2024. But I don't feel they showed. I don't want a Transformers game in first person, and it's a first person game. So it's a weird thing because I'm dying to see what Transformers are going to bring to the table. New, fresh take of it. The trailer looked really cool, but it was all cinematics, no gameplay. But it is first person. So it's like one hand, that's what I want to see. But the second, I don't want a game in first person. So there's no game that I've seen that I'm like, oh, I can't wait till that comes out. I'm a picky gamer. And I think I'm jaded a little bit because I do rent games. So for me, I don't save up and buy them. I get to play everything. I want to play that unless it's a digital, like Alan Wake 2. I can't rent it because it's only digital. So so I don't know. I don't have a most anticipated game. Maybe you guys will say something. I'm like, oh, but yeah, there's not one game that I'm like, I can't wait till it comes out.
So their list going from bronze to platinum, and I maybe this will jog your. I'm looking forward to it. We have Dragon's Dogma 2, Marvel's Wolverine, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and then most anticipated game Grand Theft Auto 6, which I thought is kind of.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I forgot that one existed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you said 2024, right? Because isn't they already said that's 2025
and beyond. They have that category.
Okay. Got it.
But then they went all Buzz Lightyear on us.
They gave the studio the studio of the year to Insomniac. No surprise there. Now, your PS5 game of the year. What would you say? And we'll start with myself. I would say my PS5 game of the year, and I know it's not up here, Armored Core 6. Oh my gosh. I think I had the most awesome time, just pure enjoyment with that title. I was locked in. That would be the game of the year for me. What would you say for yourself, Cowboy? We'll start with you.
So whenever I talk about games, I will be fair. There is, I always say there's a favorite game and there's the game that it's not my favorite, but I know for sure it's a better game overall than my favorite game, right? To be fair. So the best game I personally played this year that I personally felt for me was my favorite game. I haven't beat a game since that game that I felt was the that was my better game, which is Forspoken. I started the year off, played that in the beginning of the year, and I loved it. And every time I played and beat a game, I played and beat a lot of games this year. I never at the end was like, I liked it more than Forspoken. Maybe it's the traversal system was just so different than anything I've played. And the traversal system added to the combat. So I just really liked it, and then the fact that it was a huge, massive open world, and also the character was this firecracker over a New York girl is cussing every minute, and then it reminded me of one of my favorite all-time movies when I was a kid, The Never Ending Story. You take somebody that goes into a whole different world, and they're just trying to figure out how to get out. So that was my personal favorite game. But I think the best game that I played that I didn't give Forspoken a 10 out of 10 because I don't think it deserves a 10 out of 10. It's just my personal favorite. But the game I gave a 10 out of 10 this year was Spider-Man 2. That game, I always judge games of three things: the graphics, the gameplay, and the story. The story was great. The graphics was great and the gameplay was great. So hands down for me, that game was the best game I played this year. But Forspoken is my best game I played this year.
Forspoken is freaking amazing. I call it the adult Harry Potter. It was the enemies in the ads, they had resistances.
I'm not associated with this, man.
You said it, not me.
There was mature content. Traversal was more fun than fast travel. The enemies, there was variety of enemies. The dungeons were engaging. The combat was always on. You were always dodging, moving, blocking, hitting. Like, it was such a good game. I feel like its broken release was a little unfortunate. It needed a bit more time in the incubator to iron out some things. I didn't experience those things. I played it 6 months after the fact, but
and to be fair, I think what hindered it was the console war, because it was going to be the first PlayStation, if you call it exclusive, in this year. So it had to start the year off strong, and so all microscopes was on it. But Rudix, thank you very much for talking about my game, but I didn't talk about your game because I got to play and beat your game also, which was Armored Core 6, and it was definitely epic. It's considered a tough game, and I played and beat it, played half of the game, and didn't even realize I wasn't playing to the optimal I could play and make myself stronger. So I want to give myself a pat on the back. I know a lot of people didn't do that, but that game was also epic, man. So I want to say your game of the year was definitely epic, and I'm glad I got to experience it and play and beat it. And I played, I think I put 58 hours into that game, just trying different builds. Just I was all in. Yeah,
it's a cool one. Dorgon, your PS5 game of the year, and no, this is not VR.
It can be VR. Can I choose a DLC as game of the year?
No.
Oh, my light just died. Never mind. In that case, then, like, it would probably have to be Spider-Man 2. I have my issues with the buggy state in which it launched, but the overall experience, as Cowboy was saying, the graphical fidelity, the feel through the DualSense. It's the first game since probably Returnal where I have felt that DualSense more so than even like God of War, which is what I class as one of the most perfect games ever made. Like, I felt the DualSense, I felt the feedback, I felt the game world through my hands, and I absolutely loved it. But it was such a buggy mess. Like, I got stuck under tables, I was walking in the air, all sort of the snowman style. I was flying into a wall and then not crashing or sticking to the wall, just continuing to fly and stuff like that. There were 1,000 little things that just detracted from my experience. But outside of that, like, possibly a personal favorite would be Synapse on the PSVR 2. It was an exquisite experience, the best first-person VR experience I've had in terms of a shooter. The fact that you've got telekinesis Professor X powers where you can lift people, throw them, explode barrels, pick up a box to use as a shield and all this sort of stuff. And it follows your eyes. Your eyes are the tracking as to what you're picking up, what you're shooting at, and all this sort of stuff. Reloading the gun by just hit it. You can even just hit it against a wall and it reloads the gun, or you can pop it against your hand and reload it. It was an experience that I wasn't expecting, that I didn't think was going to impact me this much through the course of the year. And it's a toss-up between the two for me in terms of the best PlayStation 5 game of the year. But if I was allowed to put Ragnarok Valhalla in there, that'd beat both of them hands down without question.
You didn't beat it yet, so that's not fair.
It doesn't matter. It's more Ragnarok. It's good story. It just plays so perfectly. It could have no story and probably still win.
It had a story. I will say this: Spider-Man 2. So I played and streamed the whole game with my wife, and I only had 4 bugs. So what was cool for me is I heard a lot. I didn't know if it was a lot of console war about the bugs. So every time I found a bug, I actually clipped it, and I had where I showed all 4 bugs. So I literally only had 4 bugs through my whole gameplay. And like I said, I did it live, so anybody could be like, "Look, there was a bug." Everybody got to watch me play it live, and I had 4 encounters. So I'm glad. Luckily, I only had those 4 issues.
And Marvel's Spider-Man 2 wins PlayStation 5 Game of the Year. Runner-up is Baldur's Gate 3, followed by Final Fantasy and Alan Wake.
Nice.
Oh, that's nice to see. Now, the PS4 game of the year, which I didn't realize they do, I'll let you guys know. Hogwarts Legacy won that one. And some notable runners-up are Armored Core and Lies of P, which I am impressed that Armored Core ran on PS4. That would have been an amazing experience on that guy. It's still that 10-year-old system. So the best PSVR 2 game we already have from Doragon, touting the Synapse. I didn't get to.
Far. Don't get me wrong. Like everything I experienced on VR this year, except the ones that didn't work, was a great experience, thoroughly enjoyable, and I would recommend all of them to pretty much anybody. But yeah, Synapse head and shoulders above for me.
I don't have a PSVR 2. Hannah, if you're watching, it's on my Christmas wish list.
And I just asked the chat, should I get one?
Yes, you should. Yeah. Like
And,
you on a VR stream would be amazing, mate. I would pay good money to see that.
I might break some. I might kick the fish tank or something. I don't know.
This is all part of the charm of it.
So we have Resident Evil Village VR mode winning best VR title, followed by Horizon Call of the Mountain, Knock, and then Star Wars Tales of Galaxy's Edge. So unfortunately, Synapse didn't make it on the list, but
I would understand all those games being on there. Call of the Mountain was a phenomenal experience, like in terms of visuals, tech, and showing what the PSVR 2 can do. Absolutely amazing. I actually love that Star Wars Tales of the Galaxy's Edge. It's the first Star Wars IP in many years that I've enjoyed. Knock is the weirdest game on the planet. It's archery football, or archery soccer as you guys would know it. So you have to shoot the ball to move it round. Think like Party Animals, but in VR where you're shooting the ball to get it into the goal. Hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
Stupid. Love it. It was such a cool idea.
Yeah, one of those novel ideas.
I'm shocked Gran Turismo wasn't on that list.
Yeah.
I would have thought playing a racing game in VR would have been pretty cool.
It is a fantastic experience, and I do play it in VR a lot now. I play it more in VR than flat screen, which is the opposite to what I was doing when I first got the headset, and I think it's more like the VR sickness, sea legs type thing coming in. But GT7 launched a year and a bit prior to the VR headset, so can it enter into a list of new VR games for 2023?
Okay, makes sense.
All right, so we have best independent game. We have Humanity coming up there, Dredge in silver, Blasphemous 2 in gold, and number one independent game was Sea of Stars. That's nice to see for Sea of Stars. Now, the sports game issue, I have an issue with the sports game. I see this game constantly winning awards everywhere, and I swear Electronic Arts, which still does FC Sports, they paid to get top prize in all of these categories, or at least nominated. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, there's no way soccer was this amazing this year, but continually I've seen them on the top of sports games list in every award ceremony.
Do you want to know why?
And tell me.
The UK and Europe exist, where football, soccer is the premier sport. No other reason.
Okay.
That's it.
I get it. I've been to Portugal. I see it's the only thing people do. Best expansion. So here is the expansion of the year. This is where Valhalla would fit in, but I don't believe
this
it
before
was.
They released Valhalla.
Yeah, so it wasn't included. Now, what was your number one expansion? Did you have a memorable expansion of this year? I know one of these on the list definitely stood out for me. Cowboy, did you have an expansion this year that you can pinpoint in your head that was
definitely. Well, give a shout out to my guy Holtz. He let me use his account so I could play the Forspoken DLC. So I got to play that. And it was cool. It was more of the same, so it was more of what I love, but it was a prequel, so that was kind of cool that it went back before the story of the regular story. Other than that,
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It had a lot to do with her mom, so I'll leave that there.
Oh,
And
that makes sense.
Yeah, And so that was cool. So that's probably on the top of my I'm trying to think of what other deal. So I don't buy many games. If I do buy a game, I will get everything that comes to it because I'm a picky gamer. So I can't think of what else I bought that came out with expansion. Oh, I will say this, but that was never mind. It doesn't matter. Another game I really liked that I played this year, but it actually came out the end of last year was um the Callisto Protocol, but that I played the DLC, but that doesn't count. That was last year. So Forspoken DLC,
And
the something
the
Tanta.
the Tanta. Yeah, I've been meaning to jump into that one. It's on my
Yeah,
backlog.
it's only
Dorga,
two and a
best.
half hours, so you'll fly right through it.
Oh yeah, wow, that's short.
Yeah.
Best DLC of
There's one I haven't got
2023
to
for you.
with Final Fantasy 16. There's Valhalla,
Oh,
which is just exceptional, but it's not on the list of nominees. So the ones that were on the list of nominees for me, because it was far better than the base game, it's got to be Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores. It was a
that's the one.
fantastic DLC, beautiful story, perfectly paced, far better than the base game. Chef's kiss.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. Burning Shores was done right. The addition of the new gun, the dynamic story playing, the bigger than life boss, which I always love to see. A lot of things done right. And of course, the freaking bird that flies and swims. Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah, the swimming bit of the bird was kind of cool, and the having to actually use it to not die. Like there were some really good mechanical changes and updates, and as you say, some new weaponry and such. It was just a great experience, and it did a better job of setting up the third installment than the actual main game. Like I said, everything about it just surpassed the primary game that it's attached to.
It's cool.
Not to mention Cyberpunk 2077, another great DLC. So that won the platinum. If you played that, it was literally like being in a spy movie. You had Idris Elba, you had Keanu Reeves, you had fantastic characters like Songbird. You had an amazing story of AI breaching the firewall and infecting the world. It was a great experience, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Miss Phoenix, you are rude. She says, "A bird that
Bird.
flies and swims. Do you mean a duck?" Rude, I tell ye, rude.
That was quick. I'm telling you, Phoenix, you're getting extra entries for these comments. It's very
She doesn't
witty.
win now. She's gonna call Fix.
Potato Spoon is in the giveaway. If Potato Spoon wins, there'll be some questions.
Hold up. My thing is, does a duck swim or does it just float?
They do swim. There's many that dive and swim.
Yeah, they dive, or at least some do. I'm sure they kind of. Then there's the ones who just like go feet crazy right on the surface. But this is not a duck podcast, Phoenix.
No, this is not a duck podcast. Back to the thing at hand. Yeah.
Best ongoing game, in my opinion, No Man's Sky hit it out of the park. I was locked into that one for so long. We have Final Fantasy 14 because I can read Roman numerals. GTA Online.
I told him something this year.
Followed by Fortnite as the best ongoing game, which is good to see. It did do a lot this year to propel the game forward, more than what it has done in previous years. I'm not a big Minecraft person, but I know a lot of people are having fun with Lego Minecraft. We have best multiplayer experience. Now, of course, there's going to be a lot of controversy. 2 fighting games are on the list, and we have Modern Warfare 3 with Baldur's Gate 3 winning the title there. And now this is the one I want to ask the panel because I love the DualSense Edge. I love the features. What was the best DualSense Edge feature of the year for you? What game really brought that controller to life? And
I think I covered it in my Game of the Year pick, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it was Returnal. Returnal in 2021 was by far the best use of the DualSense controller. I can only imagine how good it is with the DualSense Edge. But Spider-Man 2 it put that world into my hands. I had the feedback of the web wings, I had the feedback of the web swinging, I had the feedback of every single punch, of every single step. But that was the first time since Returnal I have properly felt and acknowledged that the DualSense is there. So yeah, Spider-Man 2 for me.
Yeah. It did hit hard with that DualSense Edge, and I felt like Final Fantasy 16 almost doesn't hit as hard with the DualSense Edge. Like I don't feel it as much as I do in a Spider-Man. So I'd have to agree. Cowboy, is there an experience where that controller felt alive in your hands?
Well, can I say God of War Valhalla? I mean, right?
Yeah, I mean you could say that for sure. It felt alive in your hand. It does.
Yeah, because playing that like currently, and this is a cool thing, right? The reason why I give it extra credit is because I have been playing a lot of it on this, and because this has so when I first got this, I was like, does the vibration even work? Because I was playing Mortal Kombat, and I feel like it isn't that great with Mortal Kombat. And then I was playing I played a lot of God of War, just sitting and laying in bed. And I'm like, oh man, this game is making me really feel that this thing does you, because I didn't review this yet, but I was gonna say it's not that good with the vibration. No, you just have to play the right game. And so
I would just say it's not that good overall. But yeah, the vibration, like the feedback works well when everything actually decides to work. The haptics are great. And I would probably say that it's better through the Portal. You feel it more than you do through the standard DualSense. Because when I've actually had a stable connect, an actual decent experience on the Portal playing God of War, it blew me away. It was different to the actual DualSense. So I don't know if the haptic motors are different in that than in the DualSense, and if they're the same motors as are in the Edge, in which case, yeah, God of War would probably win out. But from the base DualSense, it was Spider-Man actually made me notice that thing in my hand, and like the Portal was just a disappointment.
I would love to. I would love to know your issues with the Portal, because so far, I played since I got this, I played most of my gaming on this, which is kind of cool. So I've played this more than I've played on my actual PlayStation. So for me, as long as I have my PlayStation wired, when I put on Wi-Fi, the PlayStation Wi-Fi, something's wrong with it. Like it's just all over the place. But as long as I plug in, like last night, I was playing Final Fantasy, and it was just dipping, and I was like, what is going on? Because I always make sure I plug in my PlayStation before I leave this room. And I was like, wait. So I went on the portal, and you could see the network, and I was like, oh, it's not plugged in. I instantly walk in, plug it in, switch it to wired, and the PlayStation portal is just amazing. Like it just is amazing. But anyway, to go back to the answer to your question, I think I would like to say Ragnarok. I mean, the swings, like you really feel it pretty good. I will say this though, Call of Duty felt pretty good too, though. With the
haptics.
Yeah, the haptic feedback for Call of Duty was pretty good. I will say that. And there was even a part in the story where you drove a truck, and when they were shooting the truck, the wheels get shot out. And when you squeeze the triggers wouldn't go down because it was making you feel that you couldn't stop. I was like, this is freaking cool. So like I was nice. Like, I'm crashing because the trigger's locked up. That's pretty cool. So but I will still give it I don't know, maybe I will give it the Call of Duty.
Well, we have Resident Evil 4 in bronze, Alan Wake 2, silver, Hogwarts Legacy, and the winner, Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Accessibility, Spider-Man 2 walks away with it. Now, Spider-Man 2 may have been snubbed at the Game Awards, but on the PlayStation Blog Awards, Spider-Man 2 is cleaning up. Surprise, surprise. Soundtrack.
It's actually fan-voted awards, though, this one. The Game Awards is a Jeff Keighley, let me do as many things as I can't afford to do myself and get other people to pay for show.
Yeah, but the Jeff Keighley is voting every game. The PlayStation thing is voting PlayStation games, and they only really release they only really release Spider-Man and Forspoken this year. So no, Forspoken also beginning of the year.
No, Forspoken is Square Enix. Same with
there you go. Yeah, because it's not on anything else yet. Yeah, I keep forgetting.
Yeah, it's exclusive. but Forspoken actually not on this list here. It's kind of snubbed at the PlayStation Blog Awards. But we have best soundtrack. Now, I would give it to Final Fantasy 16, absolutely. Baldur's Gate also has a great representation of some amazingly produced music. Is there any standout musical performances in the games throughout the year that you can think of?
Dare I say, the Forspoken song is my favorite song of the year. Like, I hear it in my head.
Song.
That
Really?
Yeah, when
Okay.
you start the game, that song just comes on. And if you go to YouTube or wherever, you can listen to the whole song, and it's like that's a rememberable song. Now, my favorite score in gaming is probably from Final Fantasy VII original many years ago, and they actually add that into Final Fantasy 16. I feel like it doesn't count because that was something. So maybe people would really give Final Fantasy 16 a lot of praise, but I feel like most of those tracks was used way long ago. So I'm like, so I feel like it's cheating a little bit. So I'm gonna say Forspoken.
And Dorgon.
On PlayStation, I would agree. Final Fantasy 16, things like Find the Flame and the Phoenix are just absolute bops, and the amount of people who've done rock and metal covers of those on YouTube that take what was already an orchestral epic and make it into this ultra powerful epic, it makes you feel things you didn't know you could feel. Like, it sounds weird to say about such a just music, but it really does make me feel things I wasn't aware that I could feel from a gaming soundtrack. My actual best soundtrack of the year isn't on PlayStation, so I won't say it, but from the PlayStation side of things, yeah, 100% Final Fantasy 16.
I'm curious what game that is.
Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, right? Hi-Fi Rush. Yeah.
You know what's funny? I got robbed of that game because I streamed the whole game. So I had it on streamer mode the whole game, so I couldn't hear all of the tracks. When I played that, I was like, dude, the music isn't even that good. I was like, the music was my least favorite part of it. Like, I feel like the swinging and again, I got robbed because I played it on xCloud. So I felt like the rhythm was my least favorite. Like, the combat was great, but I never felt that the rhythm and the music was the key of that. But again, I played on streamer mode. And
if you're playing on streamer mode, it's not the same experience. You've got to go back and play it on its actual mode, and the soundtrack then, everything melds. You get into this sort of, it's like with Metal Hellsinger, which has just come onto PS Plus, where you get into this musical rhythmic flow with your combat, with your traversal, with everything that you're doing, and it's like a state of zen. It's the same sort of thing, you know, when you see people going absolutely crazy on Beat Saber with a million blocks flying at them and somehow getting perfect cuts and such. It's a zen mode that you enter, and when you have the proper music with these games, it changes your perception tenfold.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I played Metal Hellsinger also on Game Pass on xCloud. So I actually downloaded it last night because it's on PlayStation Plus, because now I want to play it on my console where I won't have, because their cloud, it's okay, but it's, you know what I mean? So now I actually want to go back and play, because I had not a great experience with that either. I was like, it's all right, but I think I was doing myself a disservice by not.
Yeah. Anything reaction based, if you can play it natively, you're going to be a lot better off.
Right.
I give a special shout out to Lies of P. Amazing soundtrack, amazingly produced, and such a great game for their second game coming out of that company. But the winner is Spider-Man 2. They did have some good songs. That side mission with the flying with the birds, that hit me.
Oh,
and then
don't take me back there.
And the opening track, Swing, Earthbound Gang, I still listen to that as a pump up. So, they had some good tracks in there. Let's get through this list. We are coming up on, oh my gosh. Okay, we have got to get through here. Audio design goes to Spider-Man. Best art direction, Alan Wake 2. Graphical showcase was Spider-Man. I guess what I will come up to here is your best gaming experience of the year. And we'll get into that with everybody.
PSVR 2.
Yeah. So
does that count as a full experience?
Yeah. That's what we're here about. Share your best gaming experience of the year.
Yeah, PSVR 2. It changed the way I look at games. It changed the way I want to experience certain types of titles. It opened my eyes to different types of titles. The fact that most of them are at a much cheaper price point than your big AAAs, the ones that everybody wants you to be playing and streaming and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, PSVR 2 this year. That was my best gaming experience. Multiple different games, multiple different types of experience, but it was that hardware that gave me the best experiences of 2023.
And Cowboy, what would you say your best gaming experience of the year was?
So it's funny. I talked to Holtz about this a lot, and he agrees. So I'm gonna come back to that. I'm gonna say this, hey, guys, don't kill me. But I was playing God of War yesterday, and I'm like, this is cool, right? But how freaking cool would it be if he could run and traverse like Forspoken? When I got to play that game, sometimes when I play games, I'm like, could I just add that? And that's what made me want to play Atlas Fallen so bad. And I played Atlas Fallen, and it's decent, but you only traverse on sand, and when you get to grass or stone, you instantly stop. But for the most part, in Forspoken, she's running and jump. I mean, it's like Spider-Man. When Spider-Man added the glide, right? It took the Spider-Man game to the next level, because now if you try to play the first Spider-Man and you don't have that glide, you're like, and some people are like, well, didn't you use the fast travel? Like, I forgot there was fast travel in Spider-Man. Why would I want to fast travel? Like a swing. But in Forspoken, it's something about her running and jumping and coming down. And yeah, honestly, when I look at other games, I'm always hoping what's going to be the next game that's going to add that type of traversal. So it literally changed my view of games, because I kind of like that so much, and I'm dying. Like, it's like when I first played Anthem and you was able to fly and it felt great, but in multiplayer. I always say, people say Insomniac has these great games, right? Superhero games, great, Spider-Man. But let me see them do co-op, right? Where you got other people on the screen with you, because that's taking it to the next level. And so after playing Anthem and you could fly, and then Marvel Avengers characters flying on the screen and land and fight and fly. So those experiences. So this year for Spoken Traversal, it's another level to me.
Hey, I agree. I enjoyed, and I know Dorgon played as well, and I've always said it's a great title. They do a lot of things right. Combat as well.
Terrible
Crank it up
title.
to difficult. You
Terrible.
love it. Okay,
I have
Homer
not been allowed
to
get revenge for my cat. It is terrible.
Homer is fine.
I want my vengeance.
Oh, yeah, it could have been called something else. Yeah, right. Why? What does Forspoken even mean?
Right? Yeah, it's kind of, they never
We
bring
don't have
it
time
up.
for the English lesson. Let's move on.
Yeah, I'm with Cowboy here. What does Forspoken even mean? I don't even know. But I digress. That was our show today. All of our PlayStation content. It's a lot of interesting stuff coming up. PlayStation blog's taking a break, and so are we. We'll be coming up in the new year. Before the show ends, I want to give a special super shout out to Cowboy for joining us on this end of year episode and really going out with an epic bang. And thank you, dude. Thank you
for having me, man. You guys, man, I love what you guys do. I'm a PlayStation fan as well, so it's really cool to see you guys cover everything PlayStation. And yeah, I mean, the chance to get to be on here with you guys, and it happened to be this epic finale, is just what else could I want, So thank you.
Oh well, thank you, sir. And let's I wanted to say best new character in the Sony blog wins it, Venom. Such a great character. Well done.
Of course, yeah. There was no other option.
No.
That took the game to the next level. I guess we can't really spoil it. I feel like if you haven't played it yet, but that took the game to the next level when they let the ultimate thing happen. That I'm thinking, like, they're not gonna do that, are they? And they did.
Yeah, they're gonna do that. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this game, yeah, that's helping it get a 10 on my list, man, because that was like, that did that just happen?
Well, thanks everyone to the community. We have a bunch of entries in here. I am going to give a special thank you to the audience today. What an amazing crowd. I think we have had the most amount of people ever hanging in the audience in any show. So we want to give a special thank you to you guys. You guys make this super awesome and amazing. Really appreciate that. And without further delay, let's get the wheel spinning and see who wins. I will be contacting Miss Phoenix. Woo! All right,
Fix. I mean, what?
Yes, she had 2 entries, but I don't know what I would have done with Potato Spoon. Miss Phoenix, you will be contacted. Thank you for hanging out, and thank you everyone for being so epic in the audience. Let's give a shout out to everyone here. What's going on, Cowboy? What do you got going on this week? What's going on today? Tell us about it. What's going on?
So, if you guys want to follow me, just come to the channel. I'm sure most of you know me, but Mondays I do a video game podcast. So we just talk everything gaming, all gaming. Tuesdays I do a reality talk show where we just talk anything non-gaming. We could talk about that Colorado's trying to stop Trump from being able to be a president, to anything aliens. Wednesdays is my We Wrestle Wednesdays. So it's a wrestling league that I host. A bunch of guys, we played at WWE 2K 2023. And then Thursdays is my Let's Get Random Thursdays. I never really know what I'm going to do on Thursday to closer to Thursday, and I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. So if I don't have anything planned, sometimes I could take the day off. So I stream 4 days a week, and then I just put out random stuff, login, reviews, movie reviews, product reviews. So just come to the channel, go to the homepage. As you scroll down, you get an idea of the channel. And I am the Cowboy, king of entertainment, and I am my notes.
Awesome. And Dorgon, what do you got going on in your channel? Videos to watch, videos coming up?
Nothing planned for the remainder of the year. I'm taking a bit of time off over the festive period. Quite nice to do and just get a bit of rest and relaxation, come back stronger next year. There might be the odd impromptu live stream like we saw earlier this week with Not For Broadcast in the VR. That was great fun. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Would love to do a bit more. Outside of that, there is my end of 2023 best and worst list, so you can find out how I felt about every game that I played through the course of the year, not just the ones on PlayStation. And then coming back in the new year, we'll be back at some point. We haven't quite decided yet. We want a bit of a holiday. We'll let you all know as and when. So keep your eyes peeled on like the community tab everywhere, and of course all of the socials for when Super PlayStation Brothers will be back. Then Rudigs, wrap us up, round us out. What have you got coming up, my friend?
Well, as always, I'll be doing the family game night with the Rudiglets tonight, Wednesday, on the Rudigs channel. Link in the description below. And don't forget to miss the Simply Pwned Gaming Baldur's Gate 3 Murder Run. Yes, the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse are out, and they're ready to do some damage. We're getting through Act 2, so catch us later there. Otherwise, just be kind and bring peace into the world. Stay tuned to our socials, and have a safe and wonderful holiday. I want to say, when we started, it was an organic creation of shared interest and admiration for PlayStation gaming. Now it has become a weekly tradition of laughs, learning, and a hobby turned into a great time with good friends. I want to thank you, Dorgon, for coming on this wild ride and elevating the status of this show, as you always do. It's not just an amazing accent or the incredibly good looking or the incredible good looks, but truly the professionalism you bring to each and every week makes me strive to be a better podcaster. So thank you audience, for really showing up and supporting the podcast. Friends Talking PlayStation, you guys blew up my ego way further than it needed to be, and it really created a space which I enjoy coming back to every week. thanks for an amazing year. Everyone who's come out to support the show. We found our footing this year, and we'll be back next year.
That we will. And Rue, thanks for bringing this to the fore. Thanks for the idea. Thanks for putting it together. Thanks for hosting it. But most importantly, every single person in chat, we would not be here like doing this many episodes without you guys turning up week in, week out, watching it on catch up and what have you. So massive thanks to all of you. You're fantastic. You make it worthwhile turning up. You make it more fun than just two fools from across the Atlantic chatting. You're amazing. Thank you all.
All right, everybody, that's enough of the love fest we got going on. Cowboy, again, another super special thank you, shout out to yourself. And we'll see you in the new year. Rolling those credits.
Later, all.
Just to be the me, oh, finds hype super decently, smooth, nice type, but as sick as bitch.